My project is to create a user interface for Lightning that might appeal to a different crowd than ours. We're kind of used to Linux, open source, free software, so being in a proprietary environment like Excel is unfamiliar territory for us, and yet I think that there's a large demographic of people who are interested in Bitcoin, who work in the business world where they use Excel day to day, and they're interested in experimenting with Lightning and going on y'all's or going on Satoshi's place and playing around with it. So I wanted to give them a UI that kind of went into their environment where they're most comfortable. So I created this plugin that communicates with LND. You click on this tab here and you click Setup Workbook, and it will populate new worksheets within Excel with different pieces of data. So here you can see that you have your connection parameters, and you can connect to a remote node by putting in the macaroon and the TLS cert. The other thing is that you can connect to a local node that's already running. It'll check to see if that's going on. And if a local node is not already running, the add-in has lnd.exe packaged into it so it can spin up a local node. That way you can get on the network very quickly. So you have a number of tabs here. This is just LND, you get info. You can see your balances. Actually, let me see your balances. Oh, crashed. It's all right, it's part of the game, right? And so you've got your balances, you've got channels, you've got a list of payments, and then I have an interface through which you can send your payments. So we start from scratch here again. What's that? Files. And really I wanted to use Excel as a UI, not as a data store. So it's not persisting any information in the spreadsheet. All of that information is flowing from your LND node. And hopefully we'll get it to where maybe you can add some custom information inside of LND to add a label for a payment or something like that. That always gets a little hairy. So we've got balances. We've got your open channels here. Looks like we've got 6 open channels. The list of payments that you've sent. Oops, let's make that a little easier to read. And this interface is going to need to be iterated on quite a bit to make it easy, so that if you're getting paid to go shill on y'all's and you're using Joule all day long to pay your invoices, and then the Dragon's Den accountant is hey, you need to send me your expenses, you can open up your spreadsheet here, get all of the payments that you've made during the day while shilling, and get those reimbursed. So this is the send payment interface. So you would go copy an invoice into the payment request here. It'll decode it for you. It'll try to find a route. Unfortunately, I've been struggling with the query route. I think that I need to poke at it some more, and then hopefully send the payment. But I've been having this bug where the payment's in transition. So both kind of unrelated to the plugin, but probably also related to the plugin. I need to figure out a way to do retries or to figure out how to get that payment routed so that it's going to where it needs to go. If the node spun up within the plugin, then you have access to the logs in here that'll be streaming in. Since it's actually running on its own in the background, you can't redirect output from a process that's already started, unfortunately. So thank you to Chaincode Labs and John and James for organizing this. I think that I came in with this preconceived notion of what I was going to be working on, but seeing different ideas pop up through the week was awesome to iterate and try out different experiments on this platform. That's it. So Nicholas Dorier has a library called NBitcoin. I actually turned out to not need to use it at all because LND is so like full-featured that it really handles all of the annoying, serialization or whatever it may be things. And then with LND, it should be easy, but it actually was very hard to take the rpc.proto file and output the C# client library that I wanted. Once I got it like working, it was fine, but that was a very finicky command, and it's up on my GitHub, just if you want to go see that. But eventually, like I imagine that LND maybe will ship with the corresponding code every time, so that you don't have to run the grpc generate command. Yeah. But C# is a great language, and I've enjoyed it a lot. And it's like in between C++ and Python, with types, but also it feels a little more dynamic. John?
What's next?
So that's a really tough question. So I fear releasing this into the wild because I will be doing front-line customer support for Windows users until my early retirement age at 55 or something. So I've been thinking about how to do this in like a sustainable manner. One approach would be to like have the binary behind a paywall so that end users have to pay to get support. I think that would probably be a more sustainable approach than trying to handhold a bunch of people as they onboard onto Lightning. And yeah, I mean, really the question is like, how useful is this to Windows users, or do they just prefer like an Electron app and this is just a little fun project? So I think that's just like going to be a test of the market. And I've also had some thoughts about how through this interface, right now you're just communicating over gRPC with your LND API, but you could be communicating with other APIs. So for example, you could have shared bits come out with an Excel plugin that allows you to get the sports stats, and the payment is actually handled in the background because it's communicating with my plugin to handle that transaction. So then you could be doing sports stats analysis in Excel and like paying on the fly that way. Or perhaps you're trading on an exchange and you want to be like trading with an Excel, right? And you've got a live data feed coming in, and you can be putting in market orders where it's actually, you're not keeping your coins on the exchange, you just send them to the exchange the instant that you're buying. So there's interesting opportunities in that area. And traders love using Excel as well, so it's in their native environment.
Could you hide or abstract that away the connection and everything, and only kind of make you more user-friendly for accountants?
Yeah, so I didn't want this to be user-friendly. I wanted it to present as much data as possible and really satisfy the curiosity of the pioneer users coming on now. Looks like this is not going to be like in the accounting department of a Fortune 500 company tomorrow, right? Like, this isn't going to be used for enterprise payments anytime soon. This is for like someone who maybe they own like the Bitcoin ETF and they don't actually own any Bitcoins at all, but they work in finance and they work in Excel and they have Windows and they see Satoshi's place and they're like, oh, I want to get in on that fun. And so this is like a one-click install where they can be in Lightning.
So what is the, like, say I'm some average guy, like, I think this is cool, like what are the exact steps I would need to go through to get this plugin? Is it as simple as just downloading it from wherever like theoretically, like just going to the Excel repo or whatever they have all their plugins, then like syncing something like Neutrino in the background and
yeah.
Like, is that as streamlined as you could get to?
Yeah, so you would just download like setup.exe, you'd run that, you would open Excel, you'd hit setup workbook, connect, and you're online. There might be some lag obviously from syncing, but yeah. And the other next step is having Neutrino on mainnet. Right now, Neutrino's only on testnet, so to get this working, you'd have to have your node connected to Bitcoin D or something else. So I'm looking forward to seeing Neutrino on mainnet.